Landon Tewers from The Plot in You, dude. Like seriously, I am so stoked to have you on because The Plot in You. Before we get into like asking you questions and stuff, I just want to talk about like how I got into the band,
Sure.
and basically it was from Dispose, actually, the album Dispose, and I think Feel Nothing. That's like kind of the viral song that like a lot of people heard, and that's how I discovered you guys. But with the new stuff, I love just the variety. I never know what to expect, especially for me as like a reaction channel. It makes it so fun because I have no idea what the fuck the next song is going to be. So
yeah,
it's super fun in that regard. And Volume 2, the EP, is coming out tomorrow.
Is it?
Is it not?
I think it's next Friday. I think we had to move it kind of last minute. I could be wrong. I've been wrong about this shit before. I'm pretty sure it comes out next Friday.
Well, that's why I'm asking.
We had to make like a super last minute change to one of the songs. I just had an epiphany, like literally like a week ago. I was like, this has to be different. And so we had to like have it kind of remixed, like a different part just went into the song. So I think that delayed it by a week. But again, I could be wrong.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I just saw like May 3rd and I'm like, oh, that's coming up soon. Like,
yeah.
Well, especially with like if there's changes and stuff happening, like how are you feeling about this EP?
I'm stoked. Yeah. I think I wrote most of these songs last summer, like towards the end of last summer. And after I write songs, I usually don't listen to them after the writing process is done, and especially after they're mixed and stuff. I try to not burn it out anymore because like that's the easiest way to get sick of it before it even comes out, obviously. And I want to be like re-excited when the songs come out. So yeah, I took a break from it for a while, but yeah, just even like a week or so ago, I was just going back and listening through all the demos and then like the mixes and stuff. I was like, damn, I'm like actually really stoked and proud of this. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm glad that we've been able to break things up into like smaller format releases as well. That's something I've wanted to do for a really, really long time, rather than just throwing a whole chunk of an album at the world and just hoping something sticks. We've been able to kind of treat every song kind of like a single, so that's been cool.
Well, like that actually was going to be a question that I was going to ask later on, but since we're on topic, obviously, you're going the EP approach rather than albums. And, a lot of people are talking about how albums are kind of like a dying art form. And so for you, do you feel like albums are becoming like less relevant than ever?
From my perspective, yeah, I couldn't even tell you the last time I personally listened to an album all the way through. It's been a very, very long time. And I feel like I'm always more excited about singles and like short form releases because my attention span for music is pretty limited. And especially like a metalcore album with like 10 to 12 songs, it's like I don't want to listen to the same vocalist for an hour. You know what I mean? Like that's just too big of a commitment. And it's been nice to kind of put an album's worth of time into just like 2 or 3 songs at a time, spread out months, like that's just been really awesome creatively. I haven't felt burnt out, or just like it hasn't felt like a job or something I have to do. It's more just like at my leisure when I'm feeling inspired, I can work on things. And even like getting closer to the wire, like with the next EP and stuff, I've already decided I'm going to scrap a couple songs and kind of rework some other ideas. So it's kind of like in real time being able to make changes. And, like I said, even just a week ago, I was able to make a drastic change to a song. And yeah, just like I said before, just giving the individual attention to each track on its own is just like, that's such an awesome thing. Because usually when you put out a really long record, there's at least half of it sometimes that just goes completely unnoticed. And that's been the case for almost every record we put out. There's always a decent amount of songs. I'm like, I wish this would have gotten any kind of attention, but so yeah, this has been a cool, unique way to kind of do that.
Man, I find that super interesting because a weird example that I was just thinking about right now is the way that you're able to make changes a lot faster than you can on an album, with these dedicated singles. It's almost like South Park and what the writers do for like they only have like a week to come up with an episode. It's so current and it's exactly what they want to put out.
Totally.
But on the flip side of that, I like to get into the nitty gritty with some questions instead of like the small talk, to be honest. So
Yeah, of course.
on the flip side of that, if you're putting out just like single after single and like, the TikTok generation of songs getting viral and the next song trying to be the next biggest song, it's
Hmm.
just what it like, it almost um, diminishes like classics in a way sometimes. Do you
Yeah,
kind of feel that way? Because like, there's like the big classic albums or songs that really stand the test of time. But now since we're always just, it's physically impossible to listen to all this music.
totally.
So how do you feel about like the whole, now there's going to be maybe arguably less classics? Do you agree or disagree with that?
I don't know. Yeah, I guess I get what you're arguing. I think that's just kind of like a rarer thing in general, with how much music is coming out, like you said, like all the time. I think your chances of having a song like stand the test of time and, like you said, be a classic, like I feel like regardless of it, if it's on an album or if it's like just a single, it's like that's just a really hard thing to do these days with all the competition and with how fast music is changing. And yeah, especially like the TikTok era and stuff like that. Something could be viral for a week, and then a week later, it's like almost completely forgotten. That goes with like, I guess, any form of media, like music, just like a viral moment, a fad, especially with music though, that's it. I feel like it's changing more rapidly than it ever had before. Even yeah, even with just like, I mean, we had like a hyper pop phase for a second in metalcore where everyone was kind of doing like the fast beat. Just that went away so fast, but it had a moment. But yeah, I mean, it sucked, but it's still like a cool challenge to try to write something that's timeless and like can stand the test of time. It's a difficult thing to do though, for sure. But yeah, I mean, I still enjoy songwriting, and I don't really care that much about um I don't know, having the biggest, most viral single at the moment, or what I mean. Like, I feel like I'm a little bit past caring about that kind of stuff. I'm just more so trying to just like maintain what's already there and like keep the core fan base happy and keep them fed, as opposed to like, I mean, it was cool to have a song that went viral. It was definitely like a different thing for us. We've never experienced that, and we gained a decent amount of fans from that. But I don't feel like it's like something I'm just like endlessly chasing to happen again. So I'm just kind of taking every song, one song at a time, and just making sure I'm proud of whatever I'm producing. So
Yeah, and exactly. I think that's like the healthy approach to do things,
yeah,
right? And so like with Feel Nothing, how did that song even manage to get viral?
it was like, I don't know, it was just the weirdest snowball effect. Um, I think it was like some fitness TikToker or something made a video to it, and then a bunch of other fitness people started making videos to it, which branched into the world of like other sports, like um, motorbikes, like BMX, skateboarding, and then it was on like Sports Center. They put it on a video, and then Jake Paul made a video to it or something.
Oh,
So it
what?
was just
Really?
like, yeah, that was definitely the most bizarre of all of them. I remember we were on tour somewhere, and one of my friends sent me a video of it. I was like, "Well, that's fucking crazy." uh,
That's-
no, it was cool though. And yeah, it stayed pretty viral for almost like 2.5 years, which is crazy. Yeah, it was all. I don't know, like I couldn't tell you like the first video that kind of like sparked it off, but I started really noticing it like after the Jake Paul thing. That's where I felt like every day friends were sending me new videos of athletes making videos to it and weightlifters. I was like, well, that's cool. And
that's
then
so
that was
cool.
all during COVID too, so we didn't really get to see like how that would translate to the real world, like touring and stuff, until I think it was like 2021. I think was our first tour back from COVID. Maybe it was late 2020. And then we got to like actually see like, oh, this is kind of translating live too. Like people they're real human beings that are into this song and passionate and showing up for that. So yeah, that was cool. Yeah, honestly, had that song not gone viral over COVID, I think we might have been in a way different spot, like carried us over. Because we put out a record even after Feel Nothing came out that like it did okay, but it wasn't like monumental or anything like that. So yeah, it kind of like helped us carry over for a little bit.
Yeah, I think I was listening to the interview with Breakdown with Nathan Johnny, and I love those guys. And they
Yeah,
were,
they're awesome.
yeah, and they were talking. You were talking to them about how you were just kind of like thinking about breaking up many times over the course of the
Hmm.
lifespan. I guess like Feel Nothing was able to kind of like revive your career, I guess.
Yeah, to an extent. I think COVID kind of opened my eyes to like it kind of made me realize I don't need to be in a band or to be touring to be happy. I don't need like I don't know. I don't need any of that to have any sense of self-worth or anything like that. COVID for me, like I almost feel guilty saying it, but it was like kind of a blessing in disguise. You know, I'd never had a solid like 2 years off of tour. So I mean, touring and that lifestyle was like a huge part of my identity. And to have that completely stripped away, I was just kind of like, oh, I actually love this. It was nice, and I had, I had just gotten married like a year or so before COVID, and I was gone pretty much that whole first year. So it was like I finally got the chance to experience what it's actually like to be a normal person that doesn't leave 6 to 8 months out of the year. And so yeah, like I mean, it was cool. Then the Feel Nothing stuff happened, and uh, yeah, that was like it was strange. And coming back into that lifestyle again, I was like we definitely need to slow it down a bit. Like I can't be doing this long of tours, every year. It's just it takes away too much from me mentally. So yeah, I feel like we have a good balance now. I think just doing like 2 or 3 tours a year, spreading them out has been very beneficial. But yeah, there was definitely a point where I was like, I could say goodbye to this right now, and I don't think I would care that much.
Goodbye mainly to the touring aspect because like it seems like you're a
Yeah,
big
I'm sure.
songwriter heart.
Yeah, for sure. I would always keep writing songs and like being involved in the music world in some aspect. Which I mean, I produce and do songwriting like with other bands anyway. So yeah, I think I was more than happy to just like focus on that. But I mean, yeah, I mean, it was still like I'm definitely very thankful and grateful that this happened. We got to have like a second wind, essentially, and yeah, like approach tour in a different way, not burn ourselves out. Yeah, so I think as long as we can maintain this and not overdo it, I think I could do it for a little bit longer. But yeah, like I said, I could never go back to touring that much and that often. It was just brutal.
Yeah, I can only imagine, right?
Yeah.
But is it like only 3 tours a year? So what is that like? I don't know, 3, 4 months of the year is touring.
Yeah, we did one at the beginning of this year that was like I think 2 months and like a week or something like that, and that was really brutal, especially in the winter. So there's like nothing to do, nowhere to go. You're just stuck in the bus or in the venue all day, every day. So that was definitely really rough. That was one of the roughest tours, while simultaneously being probably the best tour that we've ever been, all at the same time. I think every show sold out. It was really cool. Um, yeah, this year's a little bit busier. We're doing like some overseas stuff, but it is like I get the summer off, and then from there it's kind of just like on and off. But it's kind of like shorter tours, so that's a little bit more manageable. At least I'll have a little bit of space in between that to live life.
Yeah, I feel like you want your summer off too, right?
Oh,
And
100%.
tour
Yeah,
those crappy months of the winter. It's funny because like
yeah.
I was at the Toronto show.
Mm,
And yeah, no, it was an awesome show. Like every band killed it. It was so
yeah, it was
much
fun.
fun. But like I remember just outside waiting for my pass and just like I was there outside in half an hour, just like in the cold, like this fucking sucks. But
Oh yeah, it
like,
was
but
brutal. I remember that day specifically. It was awful outside.
yeah, I know. I feel bad for any band that has to tour like Canada, like the North Side, like
Yes,
in the winter months, man.
it's
But
brutal.
going back to the viral stuff, and some of your music videos lately feel like they could like possibly go viral. Like that "Don't Look Away" video is shocking. It
Yeah,
it's so cool too, like in a weird, fucked up kind of way, and
thanks.
I love it. Like it's very artistic, but I'm wondering the direction and what the choosing the music video director
Mm.
that did these kind of videos. Like what made you want to work and have these kind of aesthetics for a music video?
So it was like I think it was like almost 2 years ago. we had a couple songs that needed videos, and we were given we got an email with like a bunch of different videographers that the label had worked with before, with like their reels and stuff like that. And his was just like above and beyond anything else. And so like, yeah, let's give him a shot, like see what we can do. And then we wrote up some like treatment ideas for a music video for Divide. Um, and we sent it to him and had a couple like video calls with him just to get on the same page. And yeah, he came back with like his own original idea, and we were like, this is cool. This sounds like a huge gamble, kind of like we're gonna put a lot of trust in you to like see this through. And it was like when we got it back, we were just blown away. We're like, okay, from now on, we don't even care. Like, just scrap all of our ideas. Just do whatever you want. And then he did the video for Forgotten, and we were just like, yeah. He would like ask me for lyrics and kind of like my interpretation of what the songs were about and things like that. And he would kind of just take that and run with it. But yeah, we all just liked his art so much that we're just like, we'll just get out of your way. Like, clearly you know what you're doing. Like, and yeah, I feel like every video has just blown my mind. I don't understand how his mind works. It's like an actual like genuine artist. So yeah, I'm like so grateful that we somehow linked up with him, and I think we've got him for the foreseeable future too. So yeah, we got crazy lucky. So
Well,
pretty awesome.
I was going to ask that, like, what the for the future, like,
Mhm.
is it going to help change like the visual look of the band in some way, maybe?
I think so. We're already trying to like incorporate like his color scheme into, merch and like our live set, like the lights and stuff like that. Kind of like keep that general aesthetic. Um, yeah, I mean, I think his just the way that he sees like color and like his taste in just imagery is something that like I think really matches the vibe of the band and like the audio side of what we're doing. So yeah, I mean, I couldn't imagine a better fit. We, like I said, just totally hit a home run with him. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, dude, I know from my standpoint as a content creator, just like it's just makes it so fun to make reaction videos for it, especially Don't Look
Yeah,
Away, because it's just so
I'm sure.
shocking. But then like I watch my other friends in the reaction community or whoever else, and they're all just talking about these videos too, way more than like other music videos that in the scene. So
That's
I
cool to
definitely
hear.
yeah, I definitely agree. Like it definitely feels like a home run. And with the music videos, is it, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure like I've only known Forgotten and Don't Look Away is those
Mhm.
music videos that he made, right?
He also did Left Behind. You should definitely
Oh
check
yeah.
that out afterwards. It's really cool. He did Left Behind and Divide. Oh, and Closure. Yeah.
Oh, he's done a lot. I feel
Yeah,
like
the
I've
other ones,
seen.
yeah, the other ones are like more like I guess poppier
Oh,
songs, so they're not
yeah.
as like shocking or anything like that. But I mean, he can do anything. Like yeah, the Left Behind video is like super beautiful, and yeah, he's very
That's
versatile.
yeah, no, definitely. I just know that Forgotten and Don't Look Away seem kind of similar in vibe, I
Yeah,
guess, but also sonically too. But yeah, no, I've seen the Left Behind video too. Like it's really beautiful. I just thought that was a whole different person.
I think he's gonna be. I think you're gonna see a lot more of his work in the next like 5 to 10 years. I think he's gonna be popping up all over the place. I haven't seen anybody really doing anything close to what he's doing, and is like stylistic, and also is like, I don't know, just genuine. And you know what I mean? It's just everything. And to me, it doesn't feel like it's like just for shock factor's sake. Like everything he does has a purpose, and like there's actual meaning behind every shot, and he's like very passionate about that. I think he's got a whole like cinematic universe in his head of like how all these things interconnect, which is like really cool and kind of unheard of.
Man, that's so cool. Yeah, it's kind of
Yeah.
like you have like your Norbert Crowfield, I think that's how you say his name. He does like the Darko videos. That guy's really cool too.
Oh yeah, their stuff's awesome.
Yeah, and so speaking of like the variety in the music videos, which shocked me that it was that guy doing all these kind of videos, but also your music too. Like I was saying at the beginning of this podcast, but like I never know what to expect when listening to your music, and it makes it that's for me personally. I need variety when I'm listening to music
Same.
or just like anything in general. Like I
Yeah.
need variety. Is
Hmm.
it a conscious effort to try expanding the sound of the plot in you, because you were mentioning earlier that you'd want to appeal to the fan base too, Like, is there like, do you even want to get weirder with some of the other genres that you might be influenced by?
Yeah, totally. I yeah, I mean, for me, songwriting is it's obviously like a huge part of my life, and when we kind of made the decision that we wanted to try to incorporate some heavier elements back into our music because we kind of like gotten away from that for a while. I was just like, all right, if I'm gonna do that, I need to like make sure it's something that like really sticks out and that's like I feel like is a little bit more progressive and not stale. And so yeah, I mean the heavy songs I think I spent more time on than I did like kind of anything else just because I don't know, I was very particular about what I wanted. And so it was like a lot of trial and error. There were probably like almost an album's worth of heavy-ish songs that didn't make the cut just because I was like, it just I don't know, it's not hitting the way that it needs to. So I was like very, very picky about everything and especially with the heavier songs. But yeah, even with the like the poppier stuff and like the more rock songs too, I'm trying to I don't know. I just really don't want to put anything out that just blends with whatever else is being put out at the moment. So I mean that's at least the goal is to like at least try to do something that feels like its own thing. But yeah, I mean it's been a blast. Like I said, just being able to spread out the writing, you know, across like at this point years, and just only approach it when I'm like really feeling inspired. I think that's been kind of the secret sauce for these past few songs. Yeah, it's just a labor of love. It's actually like I'm doing it because I'm enjoying doing it. It's not because I have any like time frame that I'm working under or anything like that. So I mean, I also am very fortunate that we have a label that believes in us and is allowing us to do things this way because that's pretty unheard of. A lot of labels are like, at the end of this year we need X amount of songs and like these are the deadlines. That's just not like it's not a way that I like to operate at all. It's just it feels very anti-art to me. So yeah, we're very fortunate for sure. Fearless has been incredible. Like they just their belief in us and their willingness to work with us in the way that we want to has been like kind of unheard of. Everything all together, like our whole team, everyone that we've been working with the past 2 years is just everyone's on the same page with everything, and it's like yeah, I think it's been pretty
That's
amazing.
awesome. How long have you been with Fearless Records now?
I think we're going on 7 years. I think we signed in 2016. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. So, yeah, 7, 8 years, something like that. It's
Yeah,
been a
that's
minute.
cool, and
Yeah.
I'm glad that they're doing the approach too with the EPs because I agree that I think the EP and just dropping a couple singles over the span of the year is kind of the direction of where music's going. I think does also kind of stay relevant too
Mhm.
because I think music listeners right now are just constantly wanting more and more and more so than ever. It's like always wanting more the newest
Yeah,
thing. Um, but just going back
for
to
sure.
something that you said about the heavy music and like you said like it wasn't hitting. And so what when you're writing, like what exactly makes it sound good to you? What's a part that makes it sound good?
That's the I guess that's the hard thing to articulate. It's like it does or it doesn't. You know what I mean? Like um I mean there's been multiple things that I've been stoked on. I'll show some of the guys and they're just like they really like it and then I'll like it for a minute and then I don't know, it maybe even a week or two goes by and it's just like I don't know, it stops hitting the same. But like with I know it's good whenever it continuously keeps hitting every time. You know what I mean? Yeah, you can't really put your finger on it. It's a hard thing to decipher. Um, I don't like with Forgotten especially. I think it was I had taken like a month away from it. I had written it on tour, and then I had taken a month away from it. Came back to it when I was home, and I wanted to like try some vocal ideas. And just how fast the idea came out. Like I think it was like a day or so. Like I was able to write and track pretty much the whole song vocally. That was like kind of my indicator there. Like, oh, okay, this is one that just feels natural. It's flowing. I don't have to overthink anything. Um, So yeah, whereas like the other heavier instrumentals I had, I was just like, I mean, this part's cool. It's just I don't know, I'm not connecting with it. And it was the same thing for Don't Look Away too. It was like the theme of it, the feeling of it, like it all just I don't know, it clicked immediately, and I knew exactly where I wanted the song to take me on that journey and stuff. So yeah, I mean it's one of those like it sounds corny to say. It's just like I don't know, it's one of those things you just know, like you follow it and it just takes you where you need to go. Pretty much these days, if I'm not connecting with the instrumental, that's another reason I have to write pretty much all the music myself too. 'Cause if I don't write it, then it doesn't feel personable to me, and I can't like connect with it. So I write all the instrumental stuff. So yeah, I don't force it anymore. If it's not feeling natural, if ideas aren't flowing like almost immediately, sometimes I'll put it off to the side and maybe come back to it later. But usually, if it's just not connecting, I just throw it aside and maybe I'll show it to another band that I work with. And if they connect with it, then they can have it. So yeah, it's just when you know, you
Yeah,
know,
I
I
know. I
guess
feel like I was
this
kind
the
of putting you
simple
on
way
the
to put
spot
it.
with that question. That's a tough.
No, you're good. Yeah.
But so with like
Yeah.
the metal and like the non-metal stuff, obviously it sounds like you have a wide variety of like inspirations or influences. Like I'm very curious always to hear the non-metal stuff, like and what influences you non-metal. Like what are some artists that are non-metal that you listen to a lot or inspire from?
I've said it a bunch. I'm a big Frank Ocean fan. I love his stuff. I'm really bummed he hasn't put anything out in a long time. I think he's been one of my biggest for sure. Um, Very inspired by like I don't know if you've heard of this artist Tommy
No.
Cash. Um, I'm pretty sure he's from Estonia.
Oh,
He's like a
okay.
rapper from out there. He's been a big one as far as like aesthetics and stuff like that, and just like I guess his willingness to just go as weird as possible all the time. I've always thought that was like really bold and courageous. This pop artist called Noga Erez. I think she's from Israel or something like that. It's like really cool, obscure pop stuff. Trying to think what other ones. I mean, I grew up listening to like Jimmy Eat
The
World, Yellow
pop punk
Card
emo
stuff,
stuff, yeah.
Taking Back Sunday, stuff like that. The classics. Um, but yeah, I'm pretty into pop these days. I'm a big pop guy. I like that. I like pretty basic song structure. Um, like working within the confines of like kind of basic song structure, but finding ways to not to almost like take the listener out, like make them not even realize that what they're listening to is a verse, chorus. You know what I mean? Like kind of break that barrier, but still work in the confines of that all at the same time. It's kind of a challenging thing to do. Um, because yeah, you don't want it to be predictable, but at the same time, the listener's ears are trained to kind of like need that repetition. So to be able to do that repetition without them feeling bored or like, you know what I mean? Like that to me is a fun challenge. So
Oh
I
man,
try to
thank you
take
for
that
that.
on quite
Because
a
like
bit.
when I review music all the time, it's not necessarily like that structure that I have issues with. It's just more like the
Mhm.
ideas. If I hear like the same verse and the second verse is just like the exact same, or the final chorus is like almost identical to the first chorus, I feel like I don't know. Like I personally like it when there's a couple deviations or things that continue to be surprising, but still enough repetition that you can like vibe out to it. So,
Totally,
eh,
for sure.
and yeah, and like you
Yep,
said, like
that's the
it's
goal.
challenging. Like I'm not a songwriter. Like I've written like songs on like Guitar Pro back in the day, but that's obviously not the same. But like I can only imagine how
Mhm.
tough it is to constantly try to I don't know reshape a song like that that's predictable but also not predictable.
Yeah, it's a very challenging thing to do, but I don't know. Once you kind of like once you do it enough, you write enough songs, you kind of like you find the little tricks and little ways to do it. And I think that overall is like that to me is like the funnest part of the puzzle. You know, it's just in those last moments of the song, like trying to like the last chorus especially, you know, like really trying to find tiny little details and ways to like be like, oh, okay, I'm glad I made it to the end of this. You know what I mean? Like there was a
Yeah,
treat for me at the end. You know? It's all just like scattering
Yeah,
little
no, and
treats all
like
over the place.
with you and the amount of projects that you have, and it just, and also like helping other bands with production and things, you have your hands full. So how do you keep up with trying to reinvent yourself as a songwriter?
That's, I mean, I feel very fortunate that I also like I get to work with so many other bands and artists all the time that I'm constantly learning from other people and the way that they approach things, and it's like it's been really, really inspiring, especially the last like 2.5, 3 years. I've had the privilege to work with a lot of different bands that we've toured with, and just like I've been flying out for writing sessions with different artists and stuff. And it's like from everything from like rap to pop to country to metalcore to like death metal stuff, just like all over the place. And yeah, I feel like almost every single artist or band that I've worked with, I've picked up at least one or two little things, like little tricks, and like ways that they do things and how they approach things, and just even how they just listen to music. Is like I just learned so much. So that's definitely one thing I've recommended to a lot of up and coming producers and songwriters and stuff. Is like I made the mistake of like keeping myself in my own little bubble for so long, almost a decade. Like I refused to like work with anybody else, at least on my own stuff. I would like help out with other bands, and I still like for the most part, I pretty much do all the writing for plot, but just collaborating with other people with their music, and just for like just to write songs in general that could end up anywhere for any band. Just sitting down and writing. That's been like I think one of the best tools I've gained to get some perspective and view things differently. And so yeah, I think it's writing with other people has just been such a like eye-opening, beautiful experience for me. I've, like learned so much. So
Well, that's a perfect
yeah, it's been
segue to the
awesome.
next question that I have, because something that's really cool is you working with Invent Animate on Heavener, and that album like floored the
Hmm.
metalcore community when it came out. And then I realized afterwards, I think it was through like a Reddit AMA with, and Marcus was talking about how you helped, write and come up with some ideas for Heavener. And so it makes me just very curious, like what exactly like did you help out with, if you could like elaborate on that record?
Yeah. So they had hit me up like a month or two before they were going to write out in the Ozarks. They had booked an Airbnb out there for like I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks, something like that. And they had me come out for the last week of them being out there. And so they just wanted help with like vocal melodies and like and stuff like that. And it kind of turned into like we wrote a bunch of the choruses together, and like some verse stuff, melody, and we ended up using some lyric ideas that I had come up with too. And then I think as I kind of like gained their trust a little bit more, that I was like also helping out with some song structure ideas, because we were like trying to come up with chorus ideas over like really intense, like crazy guitar riffing stuff. And I was like, so I had some suggestions for like making the guitars suit like some vocal ideas better and stuff like that. And more recently, like I think I had them in like a year ago. We did um, like a pop version of one of the songs. It might be out, or I think it's coming out soon. But we did that from the ground up together. So yeah, like as we're like getting to know each other better and getting more comfortable creatively, I'm like slowly starting to help out with other aspects too. But it kind of started out as mainly just vocal type stuff. So yeah, they don't really need a whole lot of help. That band is very self sufficient. They're some of the most talented people I've ever met in my life. So yeah, I was like very honored that they even hit me up to be a part of
That's
it in any
that's so
capacity.
cool.
Yeah,
Honestly,
they're
I
awesome.
think the metalcore community
Yeah.
would love hearing that. Just knowing, seeing this collaborations and from some of their favorite musicians. And so with Van Animate, is there other like prominent, metalcore bands or maybe other bands that people might be know about that you've worked with?
Yeah, I did a week writing with Silent Planet last year. Um, I did a song with We Came as Romans this year that should be coming
Oh
out
damn.
probably by the end of this year. Um, I just had this band Until I Wake. I don't know if you've heard of them. They're a Fearless Records band. I just finished their album like 3 or 4 days ago. We had to write 12 songs in
Damn,
4 weeks
damn.
from the ground up. Yeah, it was brutal. We got it done though, 100% finished, which was unheard of. I was like completely convinced there was no way that it was going to happen. But yeah, honestly, I'm probably blanking on a bunch. Just a lot of bands that we've toured with over the years. There's one I'm not sure if I'm supposed to say yet because it hasn't happened yet, but it's supposed to happen. But yeah, it's just been mainly a lot of bands that we've toured with. I think a lot of people have just caught wind that like I'm super into that. Like I have a blast doing it. So yeah, I kind of like leave that window open anywhere I go. Just like, yeah, this is like one of my favorite things to do. So if you ever need
That's
help, just hit me
awesome.
up. So yeah,
Seriously, the fact that you're so
it's fun.
involved with
Yeah.
like the current scene and helping out these bands is super cool to hear. How do you feel about like the current state of metal or rock music in general?
Honestly, if you were to ask me that like a couple years ago, I'd probably be pretty pessimistic. But I think it's been really, I think it's been awesome how I like how we talked about how music is just changing so fast. As much as like you could probably see that in a bad way, I view it in a more positive way because it's forcing people to be like incredibly innovative and have to like really dissect what they're doing. And you can't really just get away with writing boring songs anymore. Like to be relevant, you really have to like either like be an incredible songwriter or work with people that are really good songwriters, or you're just going to fall by the wayside. It's yeah, it's like it's very competitive, and I think that's cool. I think that's really pushing people to step outside of their boundaries and yeah, just try harder. Which whereas like years ago, I feel like you could kind of just get away with that if you had like a pop singer. You know what I mean? Like you can't really get away with that kind of stuff anymore. And yeah, another thing too, you kind of have to be good live too. That's another thing. People very quickly turn on you if you don't take that side of it
Interesting.
seriously too. So I see those things as I think I see those things as
Yeah, that is a
positives for
very good
sure.
way of putting it. The competitive nature is also like a good thing. As overwhelming as it can be, like I'm sure that it
Hmm.
helps push
Yep,
everyone into more creative ideas. And so, yeah, I was talking about the whole like classic
for sure.
and like, are we going to have classics anymore? It's just like an interesting topic to have. But I totally agree with you that the amount of music that's being put out, you have to be innovative. And one of my favorite things about the current state of metal and rock, and I'm like an advocate for it, is all the genre bending. And because to me, I feel like if the heavy music wants to stay relevant, is that it needs to start embracing other sounds from different genres, and a lot of it is from the pop world, and it's a lot of people hold
Totally.
it back, a lot of like gatekeepers. But like to me, I feel like the past few years have been so like genre fluid. Like it's been so cool to hear, and that's specifically a big reason why I love your music. Like Dispose, after hearing Feel Nothing, I'm like, this is a
Thank
cool
you.
song. I like it. But then it was like, Disposable Fix floored me as an ending for a song too. And then I always wanted, or You Always Wanted to Leave. Sorry, I forgot the title, but it felt almost kind of country a little bit.
Yeah,
And I love that. That was so cool.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Some R&B.
So
Yeah.
that,
Thank you.
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah,
I forgot
no,
what I
go
was going
ahead.
to say
Sorry.
anyway.
No, you're good. Oh yeah, dude. Like I have to do that kind of stuff. I couldn't. I just couldn't these days. I couldn't just do a straight up like metalcore album all the way through. I would not have any fun doing that. So my only way to keep things interesting for myself is to just like every song at least try it something different. Otherwise, what's the point? That's just so anti art to just get stagnant in one sound and just keep running it into the ground. So yeah, I wouldn't be able to just keep doing that. I have to kind of just keep things fresh and try new ideas. So I think a lot of bands
Yeah,
are also
it's
doing
really
that
cool with
too.
like obviously bringing the rise and trying different sounds on their EPs. Yeah.
Perfect example. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Sleep Token 2 obviously gained viral through some of their songs too.
Yeah.
Who are some bands
Hmm.
that you haven't toured with that you love to tour with? And it could be like non-metal too.
Yeah. God, that's hard. we've honestly, I feel like we have at this point we have almost toured with every band I kind of wanted to tour with. We're doing some stuff with Bernie
Right? Yeah, yeah,
at the end
yeah.
of this year, which is really cool. Yeah, that was honestly like kind of one of my last bucket list ones. Um, so yeah, that's a hard one. I'm trying to think. We'd probably have to step into the pop world at this point, I think. Um, Another big one was Under Oath. You know, that was like one of my childhood favorite bands of all time. We got to do that too. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I guess if like Frank Ocean is trying to take a metalcore band out at some point, that'd probably be the most stoked
That'd
I
be
would
sick. I'd
be
go to
that I
that.
could think of.
I'm not like the
Jimmy
Oh,
Eat
yeah,
World, that's
yeah.
another one. I'd like. I think that'd be cool. I'd
Yeah,
love to
they're
tour with
sweet.
them.
It's same
Yeah,
with
they're
Frank
sick.
Ocean. Like I'm not the most familiar with his music, but there's like I maybe it's not the song title, but Pyramids or something that's like 7 or 8 minutes long, and he's singing about that song's really really
Maybe
interesting. I love it. Like
I'm trying to think. That doesn't sound familiar. It might be on an
yeah,
older record.
I'm not
It must be. Yeah.
too sure, but like other artists.
You should you should check out his album Blonde. I think you'll hear a little bit of like where I got some
Oh, I know
plot
that is one of the
influence
most
from.
iconic like R&B modern R&B records. I like
It's incredible. It came out in 2016 and it's still
Yeah,
ahead of its
like
time.
I'm in a weird position as a music reactor. Is like, do I check out this music like on my own, or do I need to film myself? It's content. I know, and
You
like
should.
my luckily with my community here, they're
Yeah.
very open to other genres too, so they don't mind. But yeah, again, that's a
Mhm.
big reason why like I think even in my community we love the Plan You, we love the other projects. And speaking of the other projects, like you have a solo project, and then that really heavy one. Sorry, the
Mhm.
name is hard to. Yeah.
AI
But
640.
is there going to
Yeah.
be more coming out of that? I think you ended the trilogy or with that heavy side project, or is there going to be more? That's just the question.
Mhm. No, not for that specifically, but I'm actually in the middle of a project with another vocalist from another band you probably heard of. We haven't like announced it yet, but I think we're 4 songs deep, and it's like I guess it could kind of live in that same type of world. Like it's really, really heavy, and just like fun. We just had we just went all out and just went crazy with it. So I think that should be coming out sometime this summer. But yeah, I think for fans that kind of miss that side of my songwriting, I think they'll be fed in that aspect.
Nice,
Yeah,
nice.
it's super
So
fun.
um I guess with all the
Yeah.
music that you put out and then also touring, like how do you so you probably only do like 3 tours a year is what you said. Do you see that in the future kind of like bringing that down possibly even more and maybe focusing on producing? Is that like yeah?
Oh, 100%. That's the goal. Yeah. If I could tour once a year, I think that'd be a dream come true. Just like one long month, just get it all, hit all the markets, and then just yeah, just right the rest of the year. That's my ideal
Well, I
future
got a
scenario.
non-metal question that I definitely want to ask you is because obviously taking
Mhm.
time away, you're married. You're married for a few years now, and obviously the tour has some impact on that. Like, how do you manage a relationship and or a marriage and continue to make it like a happy marriage while you're on the road? What are some good advice that you can give?
It's incredibly difficult for sure. Communication definitely gets very, very difficult. Just they're they're living a completely different life, and it's kind of hard to understand like what the other person is going through. Like me in my situation, I'm completely bored out of my mind most of the time on tour because aside from like 40 minutes to an hour a day, there's really nothing to do, especially on a winter tour. So it's a lot of just sitting around and waiting all day, every day. Whereas like the other person has plenty of things going on, plenty of things to talk about. So it's like I think that for me has been probably one of the most difficult things. Is like I know you want to talk. I don't really have anything to relay. I did the exact same thing today that I did yesterday and the day before that, the day before that. So that can be difficult. But yeah, just making a communication priority is very, very important. Even if there's nothing to talk about, just get creative with conversation and try to make something worth talking about. But dude, it's a bigger issue than I think a lot of people understand. It really can be. It can be very, very, very boring, like painfully boring, and understimulating, which can lead to negative thoughts, depression, stuff like that. That's why you see a lot of addiction also in the touring world and in the band world, because it's something to do to pass the time and like ease the pain sometimes, and the loneliness. It's not like you always see bands posting photos and videos of tour online. It looks like the most exciting thing in the world, but it's like maybe like 5 to 10% of what the day actually looks like. So yeah, just staying mentally healthy, having a good routine regiment, that's also another thing that can be a big component into keeping a happy, functioning relationship. Because yeah, like I said, it's not easy. It can be very difficult, but like anything else, it just takes
Yeah,
effort.
and I assume it gets harder over the years too, because, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but do you feel like maybe when you were younger and touring, like you've seen a lot of the world and like it's so exciting and cool, but then maybe now you have different what's the word I'm looking for? Just life just hits different, that you maybe want to spend time with your like loved ones, that I feel like maybe you're burnt out from traveling as much. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. It totally. It honestly, half the days, especially in the U.S. when we're on tour, I'm not exaggerating. Like most days, I don't even know what state I'm in. Um, it doesn't matter. Everything's the same. It's just another day. Yeah, it gets old for sure, and which is also kind of a bummer about the lifestyle too, because I mean sometimes you'll be in a different country and there are cool things to go see and do, but like sometimes you just get so burnt out. You've been on tour for so long, it's like you don't even care. You could be in the coolest place in the world, and it's just like whatever just gets me through the day the fastest. Like I just want to get home and be back, like feel some sanity again. I know it's different for a lot of different people. Like I know there are a lot of extroverts that just like love to be on tour all the time and like crave like just being around people all the time and new environments every day and stuff like that. I know a lot of people like that, but I also know a lot of people that are very similar to me that are like very introverted and need alone time and like being around people all day every day is like just super draining emotionally, you know. Yeah, I definitely fall under that category. After usually like 10 days being on the road, I'm just like I would do anything to have
Damn.
some personal space. So it gets rough, but again, at the end of the day, it's such a privilege and such a cool thing to get to experience. So I try to stay positive about those kinds of things and just keep my brain in a healthy spot. But some days
Yeah,
it's easier than
well,
others.
I do find that actually really interesting, because, a lot of, especially younger people, like are so interested in the touring life and becoming like rock stars. But I think with
Mm,
everything that you do in life, there's always going to be pros and cons to it. And even for me, I feel like I have a
totally.
dream job. I'm getting to talk to some of the coolest musicians, and I'm making videos around music. It's awesome. This is what I do full time. But what they don't see behind the scenes is like I'm on the computer all day. Like I'm not, and like I'm introverted
Yeah.
too. I love my personal space, but then sometimes I'm so alone in my own space. I'm like, oh god, I gotta go talk to someone. So like
Dude,
that's,
I
I feel
feel
like
that.
with anything, like there's always going to be pros and cons, but like it's ways to just manage it and really continue your passion. And your passion just sounds like you're a fucking insanely talented songwriter, and the amount of I know
Thanks, dude.
it
I
sounds like I'm
appreciate
blowing
it.
smoke up your ass, but like I seriously love the stuff from Plot and You. Like the old stuff, I've listened to some older albums, and it's super intense, raw, passionate metalcore, and it's cool. But I really vibe out to the new stuff personally, because I just love the variety. So
Thank you.
actually that's going to be a good
I
segue
appreciate it.
into the final question, because I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I just want to know like the
You're good.
future of the Plot in You, and maybe even the future of you, Landon, like your like side projects or what you want to do as a musician.
Yeah, I mean, as for plot, like we have, I think we have two more EPs that we're trying to spread out over the course of the next, I think like 8 months, something like that. Like they're pretty spread apart, but we're trying to keep a consistent flow of things coming out. It's also been cool, you know, like for every tour that we're going to be doing for the next year and a half, we'll also have new songs to be playing. Um, which is kind of a cool thing. Usually, you know, like you put out a record, you'll tour that record for the next 2.5 years, sometimes longer. So you're just playing the same songs, but this has been cool because it's like almost every tour we're getting to add like a new song or two to the set list, which keeps things so fresh and like so much more exciting. Like every tour we get to like try out a new song and see how it goes. So I'm excited for that. We're doing a lot of overseas stuff this year. And then next year, we're already starting to plan into next year for some stuff, which is cool. We've usually only ever booked things out like 6 months in advance at the maximum. So it's kind of nice to finally know like what my schedule is going to be like for the long foreseeable future. So we've got some really cool stuff planned, but yeah, like I said, we talked about earlier. I'm definitely trying to manage my time more appropriately in my personal life and my professional life to where I can like actually enjoy just existing and my time off and stuff like that. So as far as like solo stuff goes, I'm like just now finally starting to work on some stuff that's like just solo stuff for the first time in like a couple years. Like just trying to do like a smaller release, probably like an EP thing similar. Um, and then, like I said, I'm doing that collab EP with a friend of mine. That's going to be really fun. I'm excited for that. So yeah, just and tons of just writing with other bands. I'm doing a record for a band in the fall. They're a Solid State Records band. I've been doing some stuff with them over the past like 6 months. So that's cool. I'm excited for that. I'm getting to be a kind of a bigger part in that project as well. So, but also just
Yeah, it
trying to
sounds like a
keep
lot.
myself too thin. And it does, yeah. As I'm saying, I'm like, holy shit, am I gonna get to breathe this year? But no, it'll be cool. I'm excited. So yeah, it's all good
Nice.
things.
I'm
All
stoked for
very
it. I'm
positive.
stoked for volume 2, which is not coming out tomorrow. Next Friday?
Yeah,
You're pretty sure?
I'm pretty sure.
All right.
We'll see.
Yeah,
We could
yeah, yeah.
both be
Okay, that
surprised
sounds
by that.
cool. But dude,
Yeah,
Landon, thank you so much, man, for taking time out of your day to come on this podcast.
absolutely.
Um,
For sure.
yeah, of
Thanks for having
course,
me,
and
dude. I
good luck
appreciate
with the
it.
rest of the year. Hopefully, you don't get burnt out and from all the stuff on your plate. But I'm excited to hear
Yeah, I
everything
hope
that
so.
comes out this year from you. No
Awesome.
worries.
Thank you, dude. I
All right,
appreciate it.
see you, man.
Yep. Have a good one.